When most people press play on K-pop Demon Hunters, they see this mashup of two worlds: glossy idol pop and supernatural demon slaying. But when I watch it, I see home. The opening concert at COEX Square, that glittering shrine to consumerism all covered in LEDs. I used to have my lunch meetings there. That chase through Myeongdon's neon maze of beauty shops and food stalls, that's not an exaggeration for the sake of entertainment. That's just Friday night in the city. And when the camera tilts up from the tiled roofs of Bukchon Hanok village to the modern skyline, that is Seoul in a single shot. These sprawling towers of steel and glass held up by ancient foundations. I used to see that skyline every morning from my apartment in Gyeongnidan, on the hill tucked behind Itaewon, the kind of neighborhood where you hear half a dozen languages being spoken before you finish your first coffee. From my rooftop, I could look straight out toward Namsan Tower, the landmark where I proposed, the same tower that glows over the city in the film's climactic end. That's the city that helped shape the creative I am today. Let's get into it.
So, as expected, after finishing my cocoa waffle crunch, I feel fantastic. And I'm really glad I'm making such wonderful life choices.
For 5 years, this city was my classroom. It's where I learned how creativity and culture feed each other. How art isn't just made in studios or in classrooms, but in markets, subway tunnels, and karaoke rooms at 2 a.m. I was a showrunner for an English language kids animated series called The Adventure Kids. I worked with the Seoul International Film Festival on its brand revival. I even pitched concepts in offices where the entire deck had to be reworked halfway through the meeting because the client wanted more sparkle. True story. But that is Seoul. Chaotic, brilliant, impatient, but so generous. And that's the impossible task this film somehow manages to pull off. It captures the city with what urban planner Kevin Lynch called legibility. The way paths, edges, and landmarks click together in your mental map. You don't need signposts. You can feel where you are. And that's a rare thing in animation, where locations are painted in broad strokes. They're just stages for stories to play out. Usually. Like every Western parent of an 8-year-old, I had to pretend I wasn't excited to watch the movie all her friends were talking about. But for me, this movie landed differently. You see, when you adopt a kid, you don't share an origin story. And mine is something being slowly revealed to her over time. And this film gave me a way to share a major piece of it. I could just point at the screen and say, that's where I used to live. That was home. And that just blows her mind. When the characters run across Cheongdam Bridge, fighting a demon under the city's pulsing lights, I remember taking the subway home on that same line after a particularly late night. The Han River below, the air thick with humidity and smog, the skyline flickering in every direction. It's one of those moments when Seoul doesn't just look alive, it feels alive. And the animators somehow nailed this. Even the sound design, that low hum of power lines mixed with buzzing insects, it's exactly what a Seoul summer night sounds like. Then there's the quieter stuff. That scene where they catch their breath on a rooftop at sunset. You can almost smell the rain on the concrete. And that is what Seoul gives you. Noise and peace side by side. It's never one or the other. But that's not the point. What makes this film so powerful is how it uses that realism to say something true about the city's soul. Seoul is built on contrast. discipline and chaos, tradition and reinvention. And K-pop Demon Hunters turns those tensions into its story. The idol's choreography becomes a kind of modern shamanism, ritual through rhythm, movement as exorcism. It's not just spectacle, it's myth reborn in LED light. That duality is everywhere in Korean art. The film's central metaphor, demons of insecurity and expectation, feels especially Korean to me. It's a culture that prizes perfection, but also celebrates the beautiful flaw, the hairline crack in the glaze of a celadon bowl. That is the Han in Daehamingguk, the sadness, endurance, and creative energy all rolled into one word that doesn't translate cleanly. The movie doesn't attempt to explain Han. It makes you feel it. And what's remarkable is how global that emotion becomes on screen. The film was made by Sony Pictures Animation and distributed by Netflix, yet it's deeply Korean in spirit. It trusts that global audiences will meet it halfway, that they'll see the universal in the specific. And they did. It topped streaming charts, inspired fan art, and even spawned travel vlogs where people retraced its real locations. It's not just entertainment, it's a map of belonging. For many viewers outside of Korea, this might feel like the country's first animated breakout moment. But this moment has been coming for decades. Working on The Adventure Kids taught me just how deep Seoul's animation talent runs. Telling stories through drawing, whether on paper or with pixels, is part of the culture. There are so many beautiful Korean animated features most people never saw in the West. I'd like to highlight a couple of my favorites. Going back to 2002, My Beautiful Girl Mari is a beautiful, surreal, dreamlike meditation on grief and imagination. 2011's Leafie, A Hen in the Wild, is a simple farmyard story that hit like an emotional freight train across Asia. 2014's Satellite Girl and Milk Cow is an indie gem so weird and charming, it feels like a love letter to creative risk. And released just before K-pop Demon Hunters, Lost in Starlight showed that Netflix was ready to bet big on Korean animation, and to trust that global audiences would get it. And they did. And that faith helped clear the runway for this film to take off. K-pop Demon Hunters didn't appear out of nowhere. It's the flowering of a long tradition that keeps evolving with every generation. For me, though, it was so much more. It was memory. Watching the film with my daughter, I got to take her on a tour of the city without ever leaving our living room. That is Namsan Park, I told her. Me and Sage, our chocolate lab, used to run there at sunrise. It was so pretty in the spring. That's COEX Square. I went to a giant dance party under those LED screens, and it was crazy. I didn't mention the soju. When a movie makes your memories visible to someone else, that's not just storytelling, that's connection. Before we wrap up, I want to float an idea. We're thinking about organizing a small tour we're calling Creative Korea next spring, April 6th through the 10th. It would be limited to about 12 people, just to keep it intimate and manageable. I've run a couple of city tours before, and they were a lot of fun. Great food, great conversation, and a ton of creative inspiration. If exploring Seoul's art, design, fashion, and film districts sounds like something you'd love to experience, well, let me know in the comments. We'll see if there's enough interest to make it happen. If you want to keep going down this design history rabbit hole, YouTube thinks you might like this one. We've got a new deep dive coming soon, so be sure to turn on those notifications so you don't miss it. And while we're waiting, maybe take a walk through your own city and try to see it the way an animator might. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.